This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you. And say the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors meeting, Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. The meeting is available by GoToMeeting as well. We have an agenda in front of us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Jim made a motion. Is there a second?
I seconded.
Pam second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Approve the minutes of April 15th meeting and claims. Everyone get a chance to read those? Everything look good? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Mark made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Todd second. Any further discussion? Roll call, Todd.
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Pam?
Aye.
Sydney? Aye. Jim?
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 3, discussion with Mitchell County Sanitation / Zoning Administrator regarding job duties and wages and possible action. Hi. Good morning.
Oh, lively bunch this morning. So it's to my understanding that I'm here to talk about my planning and zoning wages. Nothing to do with the sanitation side, so that's what I'm going to be addressing today, even though the agenda does say that. It does say possible closed session. I'm going to be currently talking about what I need to talk about in open session, and if I feel I need to ask for a closed session, I will do that further. So regarding my wages, I feel like this has been blown a lot out of proportion compared to what it should have been. So to kind of defend myself from last week, it was suggested that I have a couple things that I've done for the zoning department written down along with my plans for the future. I took that partially into consideration, and I'm going to give you guys every single thing that I've done for this department and every single thing that I'm going to do for this department. So with that being said, let's get on to my spiel. So all the things that I've done so far, I have rewrote the zoning ordinance to add amendments and make it easier to read in 2021 when I was first hired. I helped facilitate a meeting that resulted in a special exemption permit for a solar farm for ballot in 2022 under the Board of Adjustment. I helped facilitate a meeting that resulted in a special exemption permit for a new quarry for LR Falk in 2023 under the Board of Adjustment. Helped facilitate a meeting that resulted in 2 separate solar farms, both receiving special exemption permits under the Board of Adjustment that will begin construction this spring of 2025. Currently helping facilitate meetings in regard to a Bitcoin mining facility under the Board of Adjustment. Helped facilitate zoning commission meetings and assisted in the review process for a new subdivision south of San Ansgar in 2022. Helped facilitate a meeting for the zoning commission in regard to rezoning a parcel south of Osage for a wedding venue in 2022. Assisted the zoning commission in a review for the urban renewal plan and land use plan for A to Z drying in 2023. I have organized and attended meetings, been of assistance to the zoning commission, been a resource for NICOG, have worked with the wind energy applicant, and have had active involvement in the creation of wind energy conversion system amendments to the zoning ordinance from November 2023 to today's current day. I have reviewed applications, scope sites, and compared applications to proposed building locations, and I have issued over 130 building permits for this county. That's absolutely everything that I've done so far. And I'm going to go over my plans for the future. And this will also address some of the things that were brought up at last week's meeting. Regarding the GIS mapping system, that is and will always be a plan of something that I want to complete for my department. I don't understand why I would not want to complete it. It would make my life so much easier. But just to give you guys a time frame of why it has not since been completed. In December of 2022, we received training on the system. I worked on creating layers on the map that winter and tried to understand the system in its entirety. It's a very extensive system, and we were trained on the desktop application of it. So I was just trying to fully dive into it and learn it as much as possible. In May of 2023, it was noted in an email chain that a previous IT director and I could not access the GIS system, and I was placed on a read-only basis. Something happened that made it to where we could not get access anymore. It was stated that we needed to talk to Rachel or Rhonda to get the contact information for Van O'Brien. I then went up to Rachel's office and asked for the information, which she gave me, and she gave me his phone number. I called multiple times, left voicemails, and I was not met with any response. I was in the midst of training an individual who was taking over for my position part-time. I was then on maternity leave for 3 months, starting in June of 2023, and came back in September 2023 to a very busy end of the season for septic systems, and also having to re-look at the work that was completed while I was gone. Which did not give me the opportunity to jump into the GIS system. Septic systems that year were still being installed into December of 2023. Throughout the winter, from November 2023 to the end of March, my main focus in zoning was conducting the wind ordinance meetings with my zoning commission and meeting with NextEra Energy to gain as much insight and knowledge about their projects as possible. The very first 2 septic systems that were installed in 2024 were in February, followed by March, May, and then June through December 2024, when I eventually took my maternity leave with my second child. It is not simply that I do not want to complete the GIS project, as individuals have previously stated. It is simply that time constraints throughout the years have come up, not to mention that I am also responsible for the environmental health department and need to be on site for well drills when grouting takes place, conducting water tests, providing post-installation information for septic systems for the homeowners, site evaluations to be able to install septic systems, and making sure that I take classes throughout the year to meet the requirements by the state so my department can have access to a grant that essentially funds my entire salary through water tests, well closures, shock chlorination, well reconstructions, etc. And this grant also gives me and the county access to discounts to classes and gives me access to memberships with IEHA and IOWWA. All of this on top of organizing meetings for the Board of Adjustment and Zoning Commission, taking on being a liaison for NICOG with the wind and CBES ordinance, diving into research regarding solar, wind, CBES, carbon pipeline, Bitcoin facilities, etc. So myself, along with my boards, can be knowledgeable when they have meetings handling building applications, scoping out sites, awarding permits, attending zoning training to be better equipped for my position, answering the phone, answering emails, being a point of contact for appraisers, realtors, and members of this community. I would love to have had this project complete by now, but unfortunately so many high priority items were set on my plate that it has fallen to the wayside. I don't feel that since it hasn't been completed, that is a reason to not award this raise that I have been proposing, especially since we've gone over 40 years without a map for the county anyways. So I am diligently working on it. It's just taking its time. It's not something I can complete overnight. The next thing that I would like to complete for my office is to digitize all of my public records. I have a plan to scan all of my records to be put on my computer for easy access. I slowly started this project right before I left for maternity leave in 2024. I plan to host the public hearing for the wind ordinance. This is actually set on a date, and it's taking place on May 7th, 2025 at 6:00 p.m. at the Nature Center at Mitchell County Conservation. Accept applications, review applications, host Board of Adjustment meetings for the CUX projects. This process for the wind turbines is extremely extensive, and all of the application process falls onto my office. Actually, I'm not going to say all, because some of it is going to fall on county roads and county conservation and EMA. So I want to be accurate on that, I suppose. That way my words aren't used against me. This will begin to take a lot of my time once the applications start to roll in. I highly suggest, now that the wind ordinance amendment proposition Now that the proposition is set for a public hearing, I highly suggest all of you take a look at that. It can be found on the county courthouse website on the planning and zoning department. It's 36 pages long. Accept future applications for special exemption permits. I would like to start the creation of a solar ordinance with the help of the zoning commission and NIACOG, if that is the way that you guys feel it should go. Revision to the current zoning ordinance to make it more current and get the help of the zoning commission and NIACOG if that's the way that you so choose to move with that. Review and possibly revise our comprehensive development plan with the help of our zoning commission and NIACOG, since it's been brought to my attention that that is out of date since 2007. Please know that all of these tasks are not going to be completed within the next year or two, since I am a one-person office, but they are constantly on a list of things that I would like to accomplish with this position. I've had to learn this position entirely on my own, and with my absence and with my latest absence and the supervisor who covered my position directly saying that my position is complicated and complex while she was filling in for me, I feel that alone proves its worthiness for a raise, not to mention everything else I've covered thus far. I'm here to advocate for myself and all of the work that I do, since I do not have an elected official to do it for me. I work hard and I try to have the best time management for all of my tasks as possible. I make mistakes and I kick myself for it later because I'm a human, but I always try to make it right in the end. I may be in an hourly position and not be an elected official in this county, but I feel I have built my departments up to be worthy of this proposed raise in the end. That's all I have to say so far.
Can I say something?
It's your meeting.
As the person that did your job, what you just said in behalf of myself was absolutely incorrect. I said it was complicated because I didn't have the access or the resources to do your job.
And I wasn't trying to
Okay.
speak against you. I was just saying that you did tell me that my job was complex. I tried to give you everything that I possibly had without giving you full access to my computer and my records. So.
Can I make a comment to that statement? And that is that I understand that we all want to take ownership of what we're using, our computers, our files and whatnot here, but they still are county documents. They still are county
Fully understand
property for accessing. So
fully
from that
understand
standpoint.
And if there needed to be full access to my computer, I would have given it over. I have nothing to hide.
I guess we talked about your wages at the end of the year. You're gonna go on maternity leave, so you talked with us before that.
Yep.
At that time, there was kind of, I believe it was just a consensus in here as far as to increase it to the $25. I still don't have a problem doing that. I did a review of employees within the county, bringing you up to $25, pretty much brings you into the range of other people with responsibilities within the county. You are a department head also, those individuals aren't. So I don't have a problem with that $25. I didn't then, I still don't.
Thank you.
So if I can make a little observation, I think probably in my view, what has happened is that we haven't accurately accounted for the sanitation part of your job versus the planning and zoning part of the job. And when you look at the sanitation part, quite honestly, she's underpaid. When you look at the sanitation part of that position compared to other counties, 5 above or 5 below us, she is underpaid in that aspect. And the fact that she has done an awful lot of organizing on the sanitation side, I can speak to that. And she has brought things up to code and done an awful lot of work as far as that's concerned. And I certainly have an appreciation for that aspect of her position. as far as the planning and zoning part, I think probably we shouldn't have this be a 50-50 split. When I look at it and I look at other counties, it looks like it's more of a 30-70 or a 40-60 at most. So I don't know how you make that play out next year, considering that the Board of Health has voted on their pay for the upcoming year. So I just wanted to put that out there that, in fact, on the sanitation side, she is underpaid. And she's overpaid on the planning and zoning side. From what I was able to secure from other counties and what they're doing and the responsibilities. If I'm not mistaken, a neighboring county actually outsources all their sanitation at a considerably higher cost. So I don't know how we work through this next year or to a point where we can reevaluate perhaps the percentage breakdown and maybe equalize the pay to the position. And I'm comparing that position, sanitation, to other counties our size, and I'm comparing the planning and zoning to other counties our size.
Looking at me for advice, and of course I can't tell you what to do, but if, I'm not saying this is your next step necessarily, but if you were at a point where you were gonna decide whether to raise their wages or not, then somebody would so move, then there'd be a second, be a discussion, and be a vote, like you normally do. So I think that's where you are, but I can't speak, for necessarily.
It does say possible action in the agenda item.
Yep. Right.
I guess what I'm at $22.70 and what she's done since she's been here. And she's gonna continue, I think, doing a good job. That's not a whole lot of money. So I just think we need to get her up to where she needs to be. We kind of discussed that in our budget meeting on December 17th. And I think we all made a consensus that we thought that was not a bad deal. So that's my 2 cents.
So, Madam Chairman, may I make a motion to,
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt. The one thing I was gonna say is that people have asked me before, whether you get to this point, whether somebody has to make the motion that was on the prevailing side last week. That's if you're doing a motion for reconsideration during the same meeting, then that's not what we're doing here. So anybody can make the motion, is what I'm saying. And I'm pointing that out because somebody might bring it up later. And I'm saying, well, this is the way it works. And actually, that's kind of, you might phrase it as a motion to renew or work the word renew in there somewhere. It's not that important. But,
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but anybody can make the motion. That's what I'm saying.
okay. So I would like to move that we increase the pay by $1.30 to the $24 an hour level for the planning and zoning portion of the position for the next year.
Pam made a motion for an increase of $1.30. Is there a second? No second? Motion denies. pays.
I'll move to approve increase base salary and wage of the planning and zoning director to $25 an hour with a 3.3% increase, cost of living increase on top of that $25 base wage.
Jim made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Jim,
Aye.
Cindy,
No.
Pam,
No,
Mark,
No.
John,
Aye.
Motion does not pass.
I'll make a motion for the 3.3% increase like all the other hour employees.
Do we have to do that though?
No.
I don't think we have to, because she already has that. That's already done.
yeah.
I don't have to do that. She's already gonna get the 3.3%. Okay. We're moving on. County Attorney General discussion.
I won't, I'm not gonna take too much here. One of the things I've been thinking about is, I don't make any policies, so you guys make the decisions. I only give legal advice. I think it may be a good time to, for the Board of Supervisors to adopt a policy regarding conduct of meetings. You know, since I've been, I guess I can't speak, you know, when Mark was county attorney, I usually wasn't in here. I was usually up doing criminal stuff. But I think, at least my perspective always kind of was, when it comes to local government, especially in a smaller area like this, it might be different if you're in Des Moines or Cedar Rapids or somewhere like that. But if you're in a smaller community like this, it's always, sometimes the freewheeling nature of these meetings kind of seem to work, right? I mean, somebody from the public might want to speak during the meeting, you recognize them, you allow them to do that. And I always thought that was, I was never all that much of a stickler personally on saying, okay, somebody can only speak during a public comment section. Because I always thought, oh, you're trying to cut off the public. I don't like it when people try to cut off the public, because we all have as much a right to state our piece regarding governing this county as anybody. But I do see the benefit of what a lot of counties and some cities will do. They do take a more streamlined approach where they say, okay, here's how we're going to conduct this meeting. During the meeting, you know, we're going to have the discussion with the department heads like we do, like you do. You're going to do your business, you know, motions and things like that. If you guys have questions of some, this is my thought. If you guys have questions of somebody, by all means, you know, ask it. But sometimes having the public chime in during a meeting can lead to more problems. And I think just my perspective might be a better idea. It's still, from a legal perspective, the Board of Supervisors does not have to allow any public comment from a legal perspective. From a personal citizen perspective, I like public comment. I'm like, you know, if I got something to say as a citizen, I want to be able to say it. So I like public comment as a citizen. It's not required legally, but I think it's a good idea to have. But I think, you know, whether you keep it at the end of the meeting or the beginning of the meeting, it it might be good to adopt some policies to keep public comments confined to that public comment time for 3 minutes apiece or whatever it might be. I'm thinking about well, I've already drafted something, but I don't have it transcribed yet. And I'll share that with you. And of course, it's up to you guys whether you want to do it, but I'm just kind of giving you a heads up because if somebody out there, gets upset and says, we don't like the way these meetings are conducted now, then they can come to me and say, we think that's a crappy idea. And I can say, okay, whatever. But
For example, when sheriff asked the public for comments and all that, would that policy would that go under that too, or? Because the last 2 times when sheriff has asked and we have had a room full, they've kind of just went and spoke crazy.
That's part of what sometimes a meeting can end up going off on a tangent into all kinds of different directions and.
Right.
Um,
Which those are questions for sheriff.
And
don't
I
take
would,
that away from him.
I guess to be
how do you
perfectly
conduct
frank,
that?
I would say, find those questions to asking the sheriff after the meeting or something, or before the meeting.
Okay. Which I do appreciate sheriff asking if there's any public comments, and it's just those few times it kind of just got out of control and.
So anyway, that's kind of,
Just a thought on that, so it'd be something the sheriff could ask the public. Does anybody have any questions for me? If so, I'd be happy to speak with you after the meeting about it. Something like that, rather than this turning into a public forum, because it really, and we're not picking on the sheriff either here, because
No.
you left and you came back, so we're not picking on you. This has to do with the whole meeting in general, so.
in fact, like I said, when it comes to public comments, I think confine them. And I also mentioned to one of you before that, so obviously, what we were just discussing was, should the sheriff take public comment during a meeting? And it might be best to not have that happen. I also realize that means that a lot, myself, and I tend to speak, my wife would say lip off, whenever I feel the inclination to do so. And that is kind of generally my personality, but that also means that some of these meetings, then myself and other people may have to keep our mouths closed a little bit, so you guys can do your job more efficiently and, and among yourselves. Now, if I have a point where I think I need to interject for legal reasons, I would do that. That's part of my job. But as far as, I know there's been a time or two when I've said, my personal opinion on the whatever, this, that, or the other thing. Well, that's probably an example of where I just say, okay, you know what, Murphy, this isn't your meeting. It's not your meeting. It's not your time to be expressing what you think. If I want to express what I think, then I can do a public comment during public comment time like anybody else. And, if I forget that, then somebody might have to say, like that's what my wife does, takes her hand and says,
All right, I'm gonna take your hand right now. We have
Yep.
less than a minute for
So-
a public hearing, so.
So anyway, that's what I think.
Can you put something together, show it to us?
I will.
And then also maybe touch base with the sheriff, because he left and came in and we were talking about the sheriff, so give him
Yes.
an idea of what we
I
were
will do
discussing.
that.
Okay, thank you.
Sheriff, is it just approval?
Oh, I did,
We can
No.
approve that quick if you want.
it's not just approval.
Okay.
All right. Couple more seconds. It's 9 o'clock. I'm going to open the public hearing. Public hearing for fiscal year 26 budget is now open. Any oral or written comments received from the board?
I had none.
I had none.
I had none.
I had 3.
I had none.
Any in the office?
I received a letter from Stan that he asked me to read. I'm not sure, did you guys receive the letter too?
I did, and I thought maybe it was, I didn't give to you this time, but thought maybe we could just put one in each of our packet and
Yeah.
put one up with the agenda. Make it, but you can do what you want.
Go ahead and read.
It's up to you guys. Try and read as fast as I can.
Yep.
Tax increment financing, or TIP, has been available to Iowa boards of supervisors in its present form since 1984. Since most substantial taxable industries reside within the boundaries of cities, Board of Supervisors did not have the opportunities afforded to this present Board of Supervisors. Today, if a county is fortunate enough to have a wind farm, opportunities abound. Some of you supervisors have expressed your desire to grow Mitchell County. I believe this is a very positive goal. A previous Board of Supervisors have provided you the tools to make this happen. Please do not flounder this desirable opportunity. Previously, I have presented to this board over 60 letters of support demanding you provide incentives to motivate new housing. It has been explained numerous times, new housing is the key to growing Mitchell County. New housing is also the key to steady or lower property taxes. New housing is the key to keeping or expanding school registrations in Riceville, St. Ansgar, and Osage. I've explained many a time to this Board of Supervisors that previous housing program was successful in achieving a aforementioned goals. This program used TIP dollars as a loan, along with a high rate of return back to the taxing bodies. One of the beauties of this previous program was it attracted people with money to move to Mitchell County to relocate their businesses and to relocate themselves, oftentimes into a high property taxable residence. When Brenda Dreyer was Economic Development Director and Stan Walk assisted her, she garnered Absolute Energy, Milk House Candles, Arctic Manufacturing, Valiant Biosciences, Art of Education Agency, Minnis Woodworking, Pioneer Prairie, and the Turtle Creek Wind Farms to Mitchell County, amongst other smaller projects, along with many expansions. Economic development, good paying jobs was flourishing. I'm reminded of the parable of the talents found in Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 through 30. This parable illustrates the importance of using one's gifts and opportunities effectively. It tells of a master who entrusts his servants with varying amounts of money and talents before leaving on a journey. 2 servants invested their talents, earning more, while the third hides his and is condemned for his lack of due diligence. So I asked this Board of Supervisors, do you want a legacy of investing opportunities in Mitchell County, growing the county while holding down property taxes, or do you want to be known for ignoring opportunities and keeping Mitchell County stagnant, similar to other Iowa counties? History has proven time and time again the negative individuals, the naysayers of Mitchell County, tend to be the most vocal, they yell the loudest and attract the most attention while not fully understanding most situations. Ignore these people. I can name a few of them, a dozen of them, a relatively small number. Yes, fewer than a dozen out of over 10,000 citizens. Do not set Mitchell County backwards due to a few vocal negative Nellies. Here's my humble suggestion. 2 of you contact your financial advisor, Heidi Cool. Explain to Mrs. Cool you desire a similar program supporting industrial and commercial projects, making them partial loans to be paid back with property taxes. Also explain you want new housing included under this program. Do not make the programs complicated. If someone wants to build a $750,000 house in the county, so be it. This house would pay a lot of property taxes. Remember, low to moderate income people do not have the ability to build new, nor the ability to pay the new property taxes. Recall the program should be designed to motivate people with money to build new and those outside of Mitchell County to move to our beautiful county. Once Ms. Cool comes up with 1 or more suggestions, pick a program the majority of you can support. Tweak it if necessary. Once you're satisfied with the program, you can discuss the program with Dorsey Whitney and John Danos, your bond counsel. Once Attorney Danos is satisfied, get back to Mrs. Cool to place the program in motion. For just example purposes, if you would set aside the $3 million, let's say a loan up to $200,000 for an industrial loan, $100,000 for a business loan, $50,000 for new housing. $1 million gets you 20 new houses, $2 million gets you 40 new houses. When the $30 million gets used up, you can dedicate additional TIP monies. Just a little history, Valiant Biosciences. The facility was going to cost $150 million to build. Valiant only had $135 million to work with. Mitchell County loaned Valiant $15 million of TIP monies which were being paid back monthly with interest. In my opinion, this 15 million has been an excellent economic investment. This coming Thursday, there is a housing seminar at Music Man Square. It is an all-day event and sponsored in part by the North Iowa Area Council of Governments, NIACOG. If you have not signed up, I would encourage you to contact NIACOG. I understand there are top-notch speakers, plus Debbie Durham, the State Economic Development Director, is the keynote speaker. I still have her personal contact information. If Mitchell County desires economic development, Debbie Durham is one you want to get to know on a first-name basis. Since I've been out of the office, I did never call any of you cold calling me and asking me for my opinion or anything. I would assume the same holds true for Joe Boaklander, Amanda Adams, Buddy McCarthy, Cheryl John and Shana Paulus. These folks have a lot of knowledge and personal experience. When you have an opening on the board, why reinvent the wheel? Again, those folks have lots of knowledge and desirable experience. The same holds true of mayors and other interested informed citizens. Remember back in 2018, petitions were circulated encouraging voters to go support going to 5 supervisors because with 5, there would be more and better ideas. The majority of voters voted for more and better ideas. Now is your opportunity to carry out their demands. If you believe there have not been more and better ideas, go back to 3 supervisors and save over $100,000 annually. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Talk to the public if they desire lower property taxes. Ask if they desire growth. Ask if they desire to keep their local schools. In most cases, the answer will be resounding yes. Now to work on a plan of action. Respectfully submitted, State Law.
Thank you. Any public comments? It's up to him if he chooses to.
Oh, you know. Oh.
Any other discussion from the board?
I just want to respond briefly that I think that several of the board members have sought the outside information from many of the people that he listed, me in particular, because I'm new. So we are indeed seeking information on how we can continue to grow the county. And I am signed up for the class or the program at Music Man Square on Thursday.
I'll agree with you, Pam. I've spoken with all the individuals that he's talked
I know that
with
many
since
of
I've started and continue to, and I need advice
Absolutely.
and things that they've learned, so, yeah,
Yeah.
it's happened.
Good point.
All right. I'm going to close the public hearing at 9:07. So do we go back to sheriff or we just continue with the budget?
You can go back to Sheriff.
All right. Go back to the sheriff. Sheriff.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I have March fees this morning for you, $6,867.20.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve sheriff's report?
I move to approve the sheriff's report in the amount of $6,867.20.
Pam made motion, is there a second?
Second.
Jim, second. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Mark.
Aye.
Pam.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Couple other things. I sent an email to county attorney on Iowa Code 356.7 and how my jail fees might be able to support Ashley and Megan moving forward. I will send that to all you folks. You can review it and maybe there's something we can do there moving forward, maybe not. We'll take a look at that. Aaron got back to me on that. Jail fees. Our jail fees have been at $60 a day, excuse me, for at least 10 years. And so it's something that I think we need to look at. The board needs to look at and maybe increase those jail fees for non-contract inmates. I say non-contract because we have a contract with Worth County that sets those fees through a period of time at 65 for those folks. But when the time comes for that contract to renew, those also may need to be increased because of increases in food costs and wages and everything else. So something to think about. I'll talk to the jail inspector. He'll be here probably early June. I'll see what's going on around the state, what he sees, and then bring back a recommendation to you folks. And something like that, maybe we could implement July 1st. I think it would just take a vote from you folks to do that, and then we would raise those fees. But I think it's in order to do that.
Okay.
Something we need to look at. We had a deputy hit a deer Friday night, $8,300 damage to his Tahoe.
Oh, no.
So we'll get that turned into insurance and back on the road. Doesn't look like $8,300, but it is. So just so you're aware of that. And I guess that's probably the three things I wanted to talk to you about: the Iowa code, jail fees, and the $10.50 with a car deer. So take any questions you guys have.
We got an email, I believe all of us, that they were gonna go out and survey again. They said, they mentioned they emailed you as well. I just wanted to make sure they did.
I get them.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know there was a landowner surveyor confrontation kind of in the northwest part of the county. They were on some land early in the morning, like it's just getting light, so they resolved it without the sheriff's office being called. Essentially it backed up and left, so. But yeah, I do get those emails. If you read any of the area news, Grundy County, the Grundy or Guthrie, how do I say that? Are having, the same issues that we do.
I think several of them.
So back to the jail, when we decided to start taking Worth County inmates in, remind me, with that contract, did we put a year, like 2 years, 5 years?
Their annual renews?
You just food for thought, moving forward, if it all continues to work, it's working out, correct?
Yeah, it works out.
Or maybe not.
No, it works out, but what I don't like is the fact that in the dead of winter, we just kick these folks out in the street. Worth County doesn't come and get them. We're ordered to release them, and if they don't have family to come and get them, we try and help them, right? We try and get them to where they need to be, but I can't take people to Minneapolis, and I can't take people to Des Moines. So overall, it's working out. That's just one of the issues that I'm not real happy about.
So where I was going with it, doing a 5-year contract would probably not be something you would want to attempt.
I don't think so, because then we're locked into all the fees for 5 years, or we're locked into, we don't have flexibility. Unless we can win a contract at 30 days notice, we can do whatever, but I'm fine with annual, gives us a little more flexibility. I can put up with anything for a year, and then I can make adjustments, but whatever the board's thoughts are, and maybe county attorney's thoughts on, I'll look at the contract. Rachel, do you have a copy of it? Okay.
Can that be part of the contract, that they're responsible to come pick them up when time's up? Just do the requirement?
They would never sign a contract.
Okay.
It's just price of us doing business with them. What they may do is take them to the county line, just in North County, and say, okay, we've fulfilled our agreement. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it happens, its conditions aren't real good, so we try to help them and take some time away, but overall, it's an okay contract, we can work with it.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon.
That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
Again.
Department head discussion. I have, Jim and I met with the Pipeline Summit last Wednesday, and they would like to come present to us next week, April 29th. Anyone else have any department head discussion?
Brock Waters from City of Osage came in yesterday and gave me this. It's a consultation for their urban renewal amendment. And since what they're doing is within 2 miles of us, they need to invite us to a consultation in regards to what they're proposing So that's just a notification of the meeting.
Maybe we can scan that in, so then.
Sure.
Any other department head discussion? No? All right. County engineer.
So Pam requested that to be scanned in, and that's totally fine, so I'll just make it public that I'm going to do that, and I'll be sending it to the board of supervisors, so there's no
Right.
other behind closed doors things happening. That's what's going to
No,
happen.
yeah,
Okay,
Everybody knows.
thank you.
thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Just a couple of things to mention. It's not on the agenda to do any much discussion on, but I was told the union voted on 10-hour days yesterday or whatever, and they've approved it. So I don't know if we want to bring it to the boards sometime and have an official act on it or not. That's just up there for discussion. The Echo Avenue Bridge construction is progressing quite well. Right now, I think today they're pouring the back stem wall on the south abutment, that all the piles been driven and the footings are in, so they're getting their way out of the water, which is kind of nice considering the rains we've had. So that project is going really smooth. And then we have, we kind of are bringing in a John Deere motor grader to kind of test run and get the guys familiar with, what other options there are for equipment. So in order for us to test run it, we have to put it on our insurance. So we're gonna have to have it covered while it's in our possession, but we'll get that taken care of through the insurance company. We've done it before with other pieces of equipment we want to test out, so not a big deal there. So I want to thank the board for allowing me to go to NACE. It was very, very well attended meeting by the Iowa County engineers. I think we had about 40 county engineers there. NACE now is, the president of NACE is now a county engineer from Iowa. The South Central representative for NACE is also a county engineer from Iowa. And another county engineer from Iowa also received a safety award. So we have really good representation there, and I'll let you know that all the complaints and all the things we deal with here, everybody deals with across the country. So whether it be rock, whether it be paved my road, whether it be dust, it's all the same everywhere you go. So just so you know that. What I have this morning is the DOT program and budget. Sorry, I forgot the maps when I delivered it to your desks last night. You've got about, with the map, you've got 4 different documents. The ones, the one colorful document that's a spreadsheet on the larger paper, that's kind of more of a summary of how this should reflect the county budget that's been submitted to. It's just the way I try to match both state budget and county budget. So I'm not trying to configure numbers throughout the year. What's nice kind of now is that the county budget is, we're still approving it, but it gives us a little bit more time to make things modified together. So on that yellow highlight is the 26 budget, the previous budget's in the blue. And then I've got some averages of what we've spent the last, since I've been documenting since 2009, and then the last 5-year averages. Obviously things go up, but we're not trying to break the bank by any means on increases in any of the items there. What changes is the carryover. That depends because we're not out of fiscal 25 yet, so you can project the carryover balance, but as things get spent or things don't get spent, carryover balances change. So that's kind of what the budget is. That's going to be the same budget that's on this form, the secondary roads DOT program. Those numbers are all going to be kind of the same. They're going to be the same, and they're all projections. The other sheet you have is the longer one. It's got 2 sides to it. One is our FM projection, farm to market money, and then our bridge funding projections. And I've kind of color coded it. The green bars on each sheet is where we're currently setting with our funding. And there's a couple different green bars because each time I work on the budget program, I know the exact dollars, and the rest of them are projections. So we're trying to keep our heads above water and still trying to do projects for bridges. Some of that bridge money gets transferred out of the farm to market fund. So when you start seeing red numbers on the far right column, that means we're overspent in those categories, and you'll see the farm to market fund will be overspent probably in fiscal 27 if we don't find different ways. And of course, the funding
The yearly funding changes, they change also. Like you can see, like in fiscal 25, we had $85,000 per month put into the allocation, and then you'll see that it drops down. But that's what the DOT is using for their number projections too. So I'm trying to match their projections because we don't know what taxes are going to do. So we're kind of really being conservative on that. So you can see we're overspent for quite a few years out, which might mean we need to look at more local money. But when the projects get let, these are all projected lettings, maybe the money is still there. We just overestimated. I'd rather overestimate than underestimate. So in that regard, gives you just kind of a layout of how I'm projecting our funding. We don't like to be in the negative because sometimes if we get too negative in our borrowing, the DOT won't allow you to borrow more money to get deeper in the hole. So just kind of trying to keep things in check. It'd be nice if we were in the green more, but we want to keep doing projects. We need to keep pushing things through. You'll see in fiscal year 30 on the bridge, and you'll see it on the 5-year program, that we have a bridge, the shared bridge with Howard County north of Riceville that we're going to have to allocate funds for. So, and then we've got some grant bridges in there for the next in fiscal 26. And then the map that I gave you kind of indicates where all of the construction projects through fiscal 30 are, but these, so kind of what we're planning ahead for. And of course, as I say every year, fiscal 26 is kind of the target year of what we're looking for. Beyond that, we'll have bridge inspections this winter. That might change the whole outlook of what we plan on doing for bridges in the next 5 years beyond that. So I don't know if you have any questions on that, but it's just kind of projections, and it seems like it's a lot of shooting in the dark, but
Just a comment, not really a question, but on the FM projection, which is pretty much the paving type stuff.
Yep.
We do a resurfacing or paving project basically every year, and I see that when we do T40, which is going to be expensive and it needs to be done, and that turns us into the red right away.
Mhm.
So then FY28, you're going to do a $150,000 bridge just to get by, but there's not going to be any resurfacing done that year.
So, right, and because it doesn't show on the FM, it'll show on the program that I believe maybe in fiscal 28, on this program, we might have some local paving. I've got some local money to maybe look at doing that road on the west side of Stacyville going, and that's going to have to be local money because there's, number one, it's not a farm market route, and so there potential paving project there, if we've got the funding for it, so it doesn't show. And then that bridge that shows $120,000, what it doesn't show, I put it in there because we're gonna spend it out, because they use the farm market fund to balance out the bridge fund, so it'll be reimbursed, but we're still borrowed ahead too much. So it's gonna be one of those red numbers slide once in a while, depending on what we have to do with it. It may be that we need to move some things around, but these are just kind of projections to get projects in the 5-year program. So also in fiscal 29, there's a bridge there, and then there's an STP project that we put in for using our federal aid funding on A19. That's up in the Otranto area, trying to do those 2 roads again. They're getting to the point, by the time we get to fiscal 29, they're going to be in disrepair. We're going to need to do something with those. So we're actually going to end up probably having to cycle back to 2009 with Glass Avenue and those other projects. In the next 5-year cycle, we're getting to the point where we're starting to repave roads from 2009 again. So just the circle of life on roads. So, but the projections, and next year this map will change and it won't even look like what I gave you. But
will you be talking with Stacyville in regards to giving them some heads up so they can start planning for that?
yeah, well, on those projects, yes, but what I've done so far, because we didn't get I'm hoping that we get an opportunity to do the grant again, but I think the grants were kind of stacked against us. And so for now, the projects I have, March Avenue, and it's unfortunate, I know Harlan Bisbee passed, I've been always dealing with him and the mayor, and so we've talked about future funding for March Avenue because that's a shared road, half of it's city limits. And I've also talked about going into town. We just haven't gotten that far. And I know that they were trying to get their funding in order. I haven't talked with them lately, but it needs to, we need to kind of have a discussion and talk about future planning. It looked like they were, so right now, the projects that I have, that Stacyville one's gonna end at the south city limits. And the reason is, when you start getting into the city of Stacyville, there are more requirements for ADA compliance. Anything we do now, if we do a mill and fill in that road, I mean, their curb and gutter needs to be updated and fixed.
Right.
But when you start getting into that side of the right of way stuff, now our 2080 agreement says that they're responsible for everything outside the traveled portion of the road, which would include curb and gutter and whatever else. But when we do a project in town and we start flaring off, you got side streets to blend back in. Now when you start messing with side streets, you start messing with sidewalks. And so there's ADA compliance there, and it's gonna take a lot of survey and a lot of extra effort on their end, so we've got to make sure. So right now, we're not planning on going into town because we did when we were gonna try to get the grant money, because we were gonna have that, and it would be the best bang for their buck to do it then. Right now, as it stands, if we've got to do something in town, it's gonna cost them a lot more. So we're gonna have to work with them if we get to a point and maybe we end up doing our projects, and then maybe we figure out a way to do a group project, maybe at that time too, when we do those, just a little bit more coordination with the city so that we can figure out the best way to get those projects done. Because going into the city, I've had a contractor we work with come in core that Monument Avenue through Stacyville, and it's not good. I mean, it's almost gonna have to be a reconstruction in town just because there's not a lot of base there anymore, so. Still coordinating with the city on timing and things like that, and I'll talk to them this summer a little bit about where we're headed.
And
Once
I
they can
was
regroup.
also thinking about the west side too.
Yeah.
I mean, that, both of those are gonna be expensive for that town.
You bet, and you know, that small stretch of road on the west side, that's a complete reconstruction, that could be pushing $1 million easy just for a half a mile of road, so.
That little chunk.
And we're gonna wanna build it wide enough and strong enough, because we anticipate a lot of truck traffic if we start doing it that way, because it's a shortcut right into that fertilizer plant. And the ready mix is back that way too, so a lot of traffic will be going through there. So.
Okay.
Anyway, that's the budget and program for the state, and the budget should match what the county is too. So.
So we need a motion to approve the DOT budget program.
I'll make the motion.
Mark made a motion. Is there a second? Todd, second. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Todd.
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Mark.
Right?
Motion passes.
All right, that's all I have for you this morning.
I have two items for you.
Yeah.
You said the other day, those surveyors that are coming in, they have to have, be licensed in that.
So the Iowa code requires that they be, much like engineering, they be under the direct supervision of a licensed Iowa surveyor. So they may be from out of the state doing the survey, as long as they're being, from my knowledge of what the survey requirements are, you might want to read it up in the code. I've talked to a licensed surveyor too, and as long as they're under the supervision of an Iowa licensed engineer, it doesn't necessarily have to be an Iowa engineer being directly doing the work, but directly supervising as far as understanding what they're doing. So that part is what I understand from the Iowa code. So, and when I talked to the, whoever, the turnkey, I think they were following the Iowa code. They had the documents on their files, so. But I don't, beyond that,
I just didn't know how they get that many licensed surveyors from Iowa.
well, they don't. In fact, I don't know how that, I mean, you could have 3 different survey companies come in and have one Iowa license. If I understand the code correctly, it'd be no different than a county, than like a county engineer is responsible for design, but he's got several staff underneath that licensed engineer doing the work. As long as that engineer is reviewing and directly involved in the work, that engineer can sign off on it, similar to what the surveyors are doing. So I don't know how that's set up on their end. It sounds to me like they've got, and maybe it's higher, maybe it's bigger companies that are in the metro area that might have the surveyors' ability to have someone directly supervise it. I don't know the intricacies of what they're doing, but that's how I read the Iowa code.
The other one is, don't we have a policy for if somebody tears up a road? That's not normal.
Yeah, I suppose we do have, what is that, the ordinance for
We had that before where they tore up the road, they were hauling grain, they were tearing up the road going one way, and then they went the other way and tore them both up.
Yep, do we have a situation where there's some roads getting tore up? I don't know about.
Yeah. They're north of the potholes, they're putting in the livestock facility up there,
Okay,
going up pretty good, we were hauling for a couple days up there. I know we had a policy that we could go back to the person doing it to charge them for the rock that we used.
yeah, there was I think the board passed something.
It went from like, I believe, April 1st to end of October, something like that. It was a.
Yeah, I don't remember when that policy was written. Was it late 2008, maybe 7, 8, 9, or somewhere in there? There was a road, I don't remember what it was. It was a road preservation ordinance or something,
Yeah,
so.
we had issues up by David is what happened.
Oh, yeah, yep, and then there's
That
been,
started that.
so, yep, I'll look into that, Mark.
All right, that's all.
Okay.
So on the survey, if I can just ask, is it normal or can the landowners ask them for their documentation that they have a contract with an
I
Iowa
assume that's-
survey
I assume
person?
that shouldn't be out of the realm of doing that. I assume so. But
Or I didn't know if they presented you or
no,
the sheriff
I
with,
haven't gotten.
here's a
that
copy of our
application.
contract. or-
I did email them and say, look, are you following the Iowa code? And
But we don't have any documentation.
well,
that they
no,
are.
I don't. I don't remember.
Okay.
I can
Okay.
double check on that too.
Okay, that'd be great.
Any update on a start time on the truck route?
No, not yet. We haven't, we just got the contract approved by the state. I haven't had any contact with the contractor yet, so no idea yet. I'm personally think it's gonna be later in the season. It's on their way home from all
Okay.
other, but I don't know that for sure yet.
A couple of them that live out on it, or I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, I don't have a date yet.
There's some signs that look like there's one in,
Those are all signs from the 218 project in Osage.
oh,
They're
okay.
all, because they've got a lot of work that, I think when the state goes north out of Osage, they're gonna keep that Flagger 1 lane, I think, project there. But I'm sure there's gonna be other, and I think the signs that are out there are trying to get, I know there's one at John Deere there that trying to keep traffic from bypassing around town and cutting through their parking lot and things like that. But there are some signs out there. They just haven't, I think everything right now has to do with what's going on down.
Okay, and then, so by saying that, it might be this fall after school gets started,
It could be, you know,
'cause there was the school bus route, there's some families there.
we'll make sure that everybody's aware when the project goes. That
Okay,
schools are aware, sheriff's aware, all the public. You know.
okay, perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 9, approve resolution to adopt fiscal year 26 proposed budget with resolution number 1277-25. Rachel?
I'll read it for you. Adoption of the Mitchell County fiscal year 2026 proposed budget. Whereas the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors held a public hearing on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, to receive comments regarding the proposed fiscal year 26 budget of expenditures and revenues as was published per public notice in the April 8th, 2025 and April 9th, 2025 issue of the official county newspapers, the Mitchell County Press News and the Enterprise Journal, and represented at the public hearing on April 22nd, 2025. Therefore, the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget as was presented less $200 for Jobs for Life and less $1,756,620 from TIF fund. Budget certification attached and on file in the Mitchell County Auditor's Office. Passed and adopted this 22nd day of April 2025.
Thank you, Rachel. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Jim made a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Pam, second. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Jim.
Aye.
Cindy.
Aye.
Pam.
Aye.
No,
Todd.
Motion passes. Finally, Faith Home presentation.
Good morning.
Please pull a chair out.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We weren't sure it said presentation, we didn't know if you were having something up like on the computer or you just talking, okay?
We're not that fancy.
Okay, all right.
Does everybody have a handout of an
Yes.
architectural drawing? Okay. I'm going to start. My name is Doug Lonkin. Scott and Faith Home have retained me from my home in central Iowa and Des Moines area to conduct an $8.5 million capital campaign to, which will enable Faith Home to add a new 17-bed resident wing and make other improvements to his existing nursing home facility. What I've been doing for about 3 months now is seeking gift planning, I call them conversations, and maybe 50 or more to date. I'm here a day or two a week with as many individuals, businesses, and foundations throughout Mitchell County as possible, and also with alums from the area that we've been able to contact. And in this context, we come today and seek your input and charitable support. Surely, obviously, for the financial benefit for the project, but as much for the endorsement of the project and for Faith Home as an important component, service provider to the seniors of Mitchell County, not just in the short term, but for, as Scott is well versed to say, another 60 years. I have a good bit of experience with senior living, not-for-profit senior living communities and fundraising for them. My personal endorsement here of Faith Home is that it's amazingly well run, has a great vision for the future, and this project will enable it to more than succeed and survive in the days ahead, in the years ahead, decades ahead. I'm going to turn it over to Scott. He'll share with you just the kind of the impetus behind the project and then some of its details. Let me ask too, time considerations here. We want to be very sensitive to your time. How are we doing so far?
Good. You said it would be 15 to 20 minutes
Yeah, okay.
for email, so.
All right. Good. Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the wonderful thing about Faith Home is through the 58 years it's been a part of the Mitchell County community, it's always been very progressive. We're the only ones in the area that have assisted living. We're the only ones in the area that have independent living and the nursing home all in one campus. So that gives us a leg up on future planning and positions us better than most to take on this next project, which is a new resident wing for our nursing home, which will update those rooms significantly. As I mentioned in the handout, we're 58 years old. The building is concrete walls, concrete ceiling, concrete floor. I've got electrical and plumbing encased in concrete. The insides of the building have been modified as much as they're going to be modified. And right now, the building's not meeting our needs now, and it certainly won't meet the needs of the future residents. We want to make sure that we make the building adaptable for future changes, because that's one thing that has happened in healthcare, particularly over the last 20 years, is healthcare needs of us Americans have changed significantly. Case in point, we always talk about bariatric needs. We as human beings are much larger now than we were 58 years ago. And if we were to try and service bariatric population, we would not be able to do that in our current building because the doors are not big enough to get the equipment in, the beds in, things of that nature. So we're looking at being more progressive again to make sure that we're around for the next 60 years and meeting the needs of the people in Mitchell County. Because the last thing we want to see is our seniors having to go elsewhere outside the county to receive healthcare services. We're fortunate in Mitchell County, we already have what I call the three-legged stool of healthcare for seniors. We have an amazing public health system, we have an amazing hospital, and we feel that our campus is a huge part of that third leg for senior care in Mitchell County, and we want to make sure that it's strong and stabilized for the future. From your guys' perspective, I'm sure the questions are, okay, from an economic standpoint, what does this do? Well, first of all, we talked about housing earlier. With our campus the way it is, the more appealing that I can make our campus for seniors, the more likely they are to leave their homes and come to our campus, which opens their homes up to younger families potentially. And that is a housing issue in Mitchell County, as you all are well aware. From an income standpoint, as
any employer in Mitchell County can tell you right now, finding good staff is very, very hard. And in nursing homes, it's not just finding good staff, it's the staff that have it in here. So we have a much shallower pool to pull from. And putting a new wing together not only helps us retain the people we have, but it will also help us pull those people from outside the county to come work for us. Case in point, from a numbers perspective, right now I would love to hire 10 full-time nurse aides. If I'm able to hire 10 more full-time nurse aides between wages and health insurance benefits, that's an additional $545,000 a year of payroll that we would be pumping into the community. So it's not just a housing issue, and it's not just a financial issue, it's a healthcare issue. And we wanted to make sure that we're being progressive enough to meet those needs. I'll get down on my soapbox, because if you let me talk any longer, you're gonna be here all day. But any questions, thoughts, any to the material that we sent out earlier? Because again, we don't want to take up a lot of your time today.
I do have questions, so if I ask anything that you've already said, please excuse me for repeating. So are you a 501c3?
We are.
Organization? Okay. And if I remember right in here, it says it's $8.5 million project that you're proposing?
Yes.
What are you using for other funding sources, and what's your plan for your fundraising? Where are you getting all your money from, hopefully?
Well, with us being a small independent facility, we're not part of a corporation, we're one of one. So we're going to lean heavily on fundraising part of it. Obviously, the USDA has a low interest loan program, 40 years. We have started the paperwork process on that. That is a lengthy process. The board of directors, once they gave the green light back in January to move forward with this project, I told them that they need to figure out where that line in the sand is, as far as how much we fundraise. We get to a certain point, we're doing this, and the rest is either going to be through the USDA or local lending programs, or through bond issuances, things of that nature. So we are looking at multiple forms of financing for the project.
Okay, so when you say local, you're talking about local citizens, and you're knocking on our door, you're knocking on the city's door also for them. And then the rest of it would be borrowing money through bond or through a bank. Okay.
And not to interrupt you, but a lot of the common questions, because this has been a 2.5-year journey to get to this point. And during our discussions throughout the county, because we've held county meetings over the last 2.5 years to educate the public on this project and what our needs are. One of the questions obviously comes up is, well, if you're able to do this, what does that do to your room rates? Well, that's dependent upon how much we're able to fundraise. The goal, being a nonprofit, we want to keep the room rates as low as possible. And the more we're able to fundraise and minimize the mortgage, the more likely it is I'm going to be able to keep the room rates, based upon our expenses and market forces, keep it in line. If we have to borrow more, that changes that equation quite a bit. Right now, our largest rooms are $352 a day. All 17 of those rooms are larger than our largest room right now, but the goal would be to keep it at that same dollar amount. So that's 17 rooms at $352 a day. That's basically a little over $2 million a year.
What's your timeline for proposed construction, and what do you have like a substantial completion target date that you want this to be somewhat done?
Well, again, it's going to depend a lot on the fundraising side of things. I've kind of given our board the end of the summer here so that we can.
For the fundraising?
Well, to take a temperature of the fundraising, see where we're at, and then we can start plugging away at, okay, time frame wise. Because if we are going to utilize USDA, we need to kind of take a step back, because they need 3 quotes from 3 different architects, 3 different management teams. And so we've got to be able to go back and do that work also. So we want to get to the end of the summer, see where we're at from the fundraising side, and then we can reassess, because again, if we are going to utilize the USDA, they have a lot more hoops for us to go through.
Right. Hopefully, you'd like to do
Oh,
something
I'd love to have it going next summer. Because the longer we wait, the more expensive it gets. 2.5 years ago when we started this journey, initially we were looking at replacing the entire facility. And at that point in time, it was like a $17 million project. Well, here we are 2.5 years later and less than half of that size of the building, and it's 8.5. So the longer we wait, the more it's gonna cost. And unfortunately, a lot like the hospital setting, it's not something you can just throw together in a month or two. When the government has their fingers in it, it takes time.
So if I can ask a question, as far as your other fundraising, are there other large grants that you are applying for or that have already gotten or you're seeking? How does the grant process fall into this?
Yeah, thank you. We're exploring the grant opportunities. Scott has written to local state legislators, or I should say state and national legislators. We are, sorting through the information and the possibilities they've sent back. My personal experience in the world of fundraising of over 30 plus years is that there are not a lot of grants for capital campaigns. Again, through governmental entities possibly, and again, we're exploring that, but not a lot of foundations, corporate foundations in that world like capital campaigns. And generally, statistically, fundraising now I'm talking on a national scale, year in and year out, while it seems that people just constantly knock on the doors of businesses in Main Street.
Right.
The vast majority, 80+90% of the dollars come from individuals in the form of business owners and all other walks of life. So we really are running an individual campaign. We're building a network right now. What I'm doing is really trying to build a network of relationships that understand the project, will speak to it, will tell their friends and neighbors it's a good thing, and open the doors to conversations. That's going well. And again, I wouldn't call it infant. We're not in the infancy of that. Again, we are shooting for mid-summer kind of time frame to make a determination of where that support can definitely come from. And then again, I believe we're on a good path to make that happen.
You spoke, Scott, about the staff as far as that's concerned. Are you having to employ a lot more travel individuals on your staff these days?
Very much so.
Okay.
Very much so. And it ebbs and it flows.
Okay.
I wish I could speak to as the reason why it ebbs and flows.
Okay.
But as an industry, it seems like we will be pretty good for a while with our own staff, and then with our population of employees, they get married, they move away, they have kids, they stay at home, and then you start putting in the agency staff to supplement that.
Okay.
Are you able to coordinate? It seems to me a few years ago, NIAC started their nursing program where we have kids from our schools and go to that program. Are those kids able to come and work at you?
They actually do their practicum with us.
They do?
Yep. They've done that now for the last 3 years.
Okay, so there's an opportunity of employees there every day, every year, so.
Any other questions?
Do you want an answer from us? Right now?
No. I'm a
joking.
spectrum guy from right now till middle of the summer.
And just to interject just a little bit, when we're talking about people, and certainly from your perspective, we see this as a true investment in Mitchell County. Like I said, particularly when you're looking at the healthcare parts of our county, we're blessed to have that county hospital is a blessing. And I educate people to that all the time, to have a county of 10,500 people that has a county hospital for one. and the one that's the quality of ours is amazing. And then you throw in the fact that we've got an awesome public health situation, and you got the opportunities for long-term care solutions. We're, as a county, we're balanced very well for that. And so this is just another investment in healthcare services in our county. Because I always tell people, I know that on your bucket list of things you want to do in your lifetime, living in a nursing home is not in there. But we want to make sure that if you need us, we're there for you. And this addition to our facility is a much needed addition. So time-wise,
Again, the word I was going to say when you asked that question was we are always donor-centered. We're going to get the best gifts that we can get if we keep the donor in mind first. And nothing changes here because it's a county government. And so within the framework of your budget, within the framework of how you make do other considerations for not-for-profit requests, we just want to work with that. To whatever degree you can make some kind of a pledge between now and the end of the summer will be the most impactful. That will be the message. We don't have to, we're not asking anybody for cash yet. We're simply for their pledge intentions so that the board can make that kind of determination summer.
I can only speak for myself, but there's some things that are going on that for me, that would fit into a time frame that I'm thinking about things that we would let you know something midsummer or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's just me speaking personally. And also me speaking personally, generally what we've done with projects, when we've granted money, we've always based it on substantial completion of the project. So it's not ever been an upfront type situation. It's like, you do what you're gonna do, you get it built. That way,
Okay.
The government's money is basically the last thing.
Yeah. Very fair. Sure.
When we talked on the phone, the 250 was kind of not really out there figure, but will that by the end of the summer change or stay the same?
but again, it just depends on what we're seeing with the incoming pledge cards that we've got.
So that could change,
It could
higher
change.
or lower.
Again, it just would make a very powerful and important statement. I won't, the quick phone call we had about this being on the agenda was certainly in no case, whether I'm talking to an individual, do we want to leave money on the table and not ask for enough? At the same time, we don't want to insult anyone with an obnoxious ask. So it's, for me today, I want it to be a learning curve of how we best request funds that fit your timetable, your abilities to consider them. And again, I totally respect, we get a lot, very much individual, and not so many individuals, but the corporations and the potential grants that we have will be those ladder funders when a reasonable amount of progress has been made on the project. So that's not unusual. Yeah.
Good.
So hopefully that balance of the pledge versus the timing that's good for you is really kind of what we need and to keep talking about.
Yeah, keep in communication with us
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that'd be great.
And along the way, if you have any other potential opportunities for us to be looking into, we would appreciate you guys giving us a heads up and letting us know what might be out there.
Yes. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
guys.
coming today.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, number 11, approved master matrix scoring for Riverview Livestock Site. Looks like we have a total score of 490. Yes. Wonderful. Rachel, I know you sent an email. Was there a comment? We're not allowing comments.
So yes, I did hear back, and I asked Adina, Deb Freeman has some questions, and she said Cindy Garza And Mason City said that we just submit those comments to the DNR.
Okay.
We don't have to do anything with them.
Wonderful. Is there a motion to approve master matrix scoring?
So I move to approve master matrix scoring for Riverview Livestock Site DNR number 61387 at 3589 Addison Riceville, scoring 490 points of the required 440.
Pam made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mark second. Any further discussion?
Is that, I'm sorry. Is the required 440?
Yeah.
The required is 440. They actually scored 112.5 compared to the required 53.38 on air.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I'm not disputing your number.
Yep.
I was just thinking that the required was more than 440,
No,
but that's okay.
The score to pass is 440.
Okay, all right.
And they passed, way over on air, water, and community. And, yeah,
That's all good.
it'll be nice because they're moving cattle from a not so desirable lot into on a slow, deep bedded facility that's much more controlled.
All right.
All right, roll call, Pam,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Mark,
Motion passes.
I'm sorry, that was from me. Who seconded that?
Mark did.
Mark did.
Okay.
Discussion on changes with county social services. Good morning, ladies.
I'll put this on the agenda again, so we kind of keep this discussion of this going. Invited Megan and Ashley here. Any other comments they might have, or any questions that the board might have? And I do have some comments also. I received two other letters of recommendation. I just have one copy.
Yes. Yeah.
One of these is from the Osage Police Department, and the other is from the CEO of County Social Services. So have those came in since last week's meeting. Does the board have any questions, I guess? For them, or? Let me get my stuff lined up here.
So I met with both Ashley and Megan last Friday for a while and voiced my concerns. My personal feeling is that we need to have a position within the county to cover the type of work that is currently being handled as far as our general assistance and under what is now the social services umbrella of the kinds of needs that you're serving to people for filling out forms and helping them gain aid and assistance that way. A position that would be similar to the 25, 28 hours per week would be somewhat comparable to other counties. I am still researching other counties as far as how they're structuring that. Some of them I've spoken to are structuring it under their public health so that their board of health then is more solidified for the future as far as that's concerned. I do have concerns over a full-time HR position at this time. And I had asked the two individuals to come up with a job description of sorts for what their plan is for the future, keeping in mind that the roles are going to change. So in other words, what would be your job description for the position that you're asking that we're asking the county to create, and what you would envision some of those goals moving forward to be? What would be the expectations of a position or positions from that standpoint.
I will agree with the job description thing. The rest of that, I do have some concerns and different thoughts than what you do have. I see the stuff that they are currently doing, and it's a benefit to the county. I don't really see it being, those services being dumped into another department when that department is supposed to be taking care of the responsibilities that they currently have. I can just see in the future where that department would say, well, we have more services now and we need more money. I can see where could happen. So I wrote down a list of things that I feel that they probably currently do and could be possible for doing in the future. One is general assistance, which they currently do.
Correct.
HR, which I feel is a strong point that we need an HR department. Ashley that wouldn't be her full-time role because she's going to be doing these other things also, but I think it's time that HR is taken care of in a different manner. Case in point is that there's been times about a year ago, it came before the board in order to use Allers and Cooney for their HR services. It was discussed then also that that is the legal side of it, which that wouldn't change. But we have Renee Brown Broken that we can consult with questions. Now, if we're outsourcing that currently, and I know Rachel just recently got a hold of Allers, and we had an issue today with it was going to possibly go into closed session. That justifies HR. We do not do anything when we have people wanting to work for this county and the application process. We have no HR that goes through that application process. We have no HR that does any of the interviews. I think the county could be strengthened by having HR services. So that's a complete different outlook as far as what you have on that, Pam. And then in regards to information or referral, I've got that down. And I have 2 bullet points underneath that. One would be direct Region County assistance regarding people that come to them to help them, and also then the assistance to individuals to utilize the new state system. Yes, the new state system is going to have a navigator, but to point, I don't think the state even knows where the navigator is yet. So they would be able to help the individuals get to the navigator. Just another thing to help our people. The mental health advocate, that, as I said before, it seems to be a real gray area. I reached out to our current mental health advocate before last week's meeting. She never replied back to me, and I basically wanted to know, I didn't want names, I just wanted to know how many people and how many hours are you spending for Mitchell County in this last year? Just want an idea. No answer. I've reached out to Fayette County. Fayette County is the lead on the reimbursement for the, I believe it's 4 counties, maybe 5 that are part that she shares. That was kind of, and no fault of that auditor, but it was still kind of not a lot of answered questions with that. So I think we could do good by having our own mental health advocate with the county, and the state reimburses that. That could be something that would help assist with funding all of this. Rich currently does the HIPAA. I don't have the right title for it. HIPAA, maybe.
Privacy officer.
HIPAA privacy officer, okay. That's a role that could be taken over. And then community outreach and referral. So those are things that I think, some of them they currently do, and I'm all for retaining that. The sheriff said that he could help assist with some of this funding. I reached out to Floyd County. Floyd County said that they are interested in the HR aspect of this, that we had talked back and forth, and an idea Gloria had and I had was that possibly HR could spend 1 day a week in Floyd County, and then as needed, it's not that everything just have to be 1 day. If they had something that would come up, they would be able to get a hold of HR, deal with it over the phone or by Zoom meeting, whatever, so they are looking at possibly assisting with that. We do have some money in our budget that we could utilize for this, so personally, I see a need in doing this, just my thoughts.
Can I speak about? Just a little?
Yeah.
Certainly,
thank you.
that's why you're here, you bet.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to, kind of add on to what Jim's saying regarding, the HR piece of it. And yeah, I understand that there's some questions about that and whether that is needed. And I want you to know that I fully respect what's being done now, but HR is outside of payroll and benefits administration. There's a lot more to that, and I think it's great, the work that is being done, in those areas. But I just wanted you to understand that yeah, as Jim had indicated, there's things where, even the communication and collaboration with employees and helping them understand policies, or looking at the employee policies on an annual basis is our current policy. Just reviewing those, if there's any updates that need to be made, and then communicating that out to the employees. Like as you mentioned with new employees, the interviewing, the onboarding, the paperwork that all goes into that, even managing employee personnel files. We do in our agency, I conduct exit interviews to find out from employees when they leave employment, like what went well, what didn't go well, how can we learn, in the future, maybe we need to take a look at some things that, maybe an employee wasn't happy with and that's why they're leaving. And another thing is employee performance reviews. I see a lot of value in that and doing those on an annual basis. So there's just, even like workforce planning, like is a position needed? Compensation surveys, I've had experience with doing that. So again, not trying to step on anyone's toes or take over anyone's job. I think all of these things that I've mentioned are a benefit to all departments within the county. And I think that, again, having employees have someone to come to with questions, and I see that in my day-to-day work, or my current employees value having someone to go to. And then I did want to speak just a little bit about the general assistance. And, we have been providing that service to Mitchell County for several years. When CSS became our own employer in 2020, CSS allowed our employees, our CSS employees, to continue to provide those services in 4 of the counties in our region. And we didn't ask the counties to reimburse for our salaries or our benefits or anything like that. We recognize the fact that we're here, we're happy to help people, and we continue to do that. And so I do see if general assistance goes to a different department, yeah, I can only imagine that there may be some financial cost to the county still at that time, whether it be a department needing to hire someone part-time to do that, or somebody being asked to take on some additional responsibilities and maybe wanting a wage or salary increase for those additional responsibilities. So I do see a financial impact to the county for that department, no matter if it's us doing it or somebody else. So I just wanted to share my thoughts on those things with you.
And thank you for saying the HR thing much better than what I did. It was not my thought to totally dismantle the Mitchell County system the way we have it. That was not my thought either.
Sure.
I just see that there's a lot of other benefits that can be taking place with HR being more involved with the county. So, yes.
Any other questions?
So I guess my question is, realizing that it was pretty short notice between Friday and today, and so I mentioned to them that maybe they would think about putting together those job descriptions, some goals or some things that you see outside of what you're currently doing that could be focused on for this county specifically, or a joint county situation, if that's what the board decides. So is that something that
Absolutely, happy
you
to
two
do
will
that.
be able to provide us?
Absolutely, yep, happy to do that.
So,
I wrote something up, and I guess I'm just but I'm just gonna paraphrase it, that, you know, the board has done things for the county as a whole. And I can use anything as an example. I can use the Statesville daycare, I can use the Osage daycare, I can use the Rock Ridge building project that Paul was doing, the Maple Heights project. We do things within cities in order to benefit the county as a whole. We could take the attitude that, no, it's in a city and that's not our responsibility. The city could take care of that whole thing. We don't do that because it's a benefit to the city as a whole. So the things that they are doing and doing for the hospital, doing for the Osage PD, doing for the sheriff, which is the county, doing for the people of Mitchell County, whether they're in town or out of town, the list is very large. Relating to what I just said for other things that we do, they do things for the whole county as a whole, which helps either these departments or the individuals themselves to navigate their lives or navigate their departments better. So to me, it's in our best interest to help with that whole process. They are doing that currently, and I just support that.
I'd like to add too, I'm on two committees, FMC, ECI, and DCAT. ECI is for the younger children, but they have parents. Our resources are getting very thin. I was just at an ECI meeting last night, and once the legislature starts putting these groups, that we're definitely going to be bigger. We're going to be traveling farther. The people aren't going to have the resources like we have right now, because it's just, they're not going to be able to use those. So I think if we can keep something strong here in Mitchell County where our people have a good resource within a stone throws away, I think it would really benefit us.
Do you guys have anything else?
I don't think so. Just we're happy to put together a job description and get that to you and just, any next steps or any
I'll come
thoughts?
visit you tomorrow.
Okay.
That gives us a much better opportunity, I think, to look at what the needs are and how we can supply that as far as that's concerned. Because I do agree we need to, I don't disagree that a portion of HR for this county would be a bad thing. My thought is, how are we laying out these positions? Because what we're doing is creating positions. And so we need to clearly define that, no matter what it is. Wouldn't be any different than if we were adding a new job to the roads department from that standpoint.
I respect that comment, yes.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah.
And I think all of us realize that this has to be an application process too. We can't just
Right.
say, you got to, you're gonna do it. So we all realize that. So.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Items of note, meetings attended.
I have a Mitchell County Soil and Water Conservation District meeting. The Inflation Reduction Act, remember we talking about that, this was before you, Pam, but there was a possibility of getting reimbursed some of our HVAC project reimbursed through the Inflation Reduction Act. And there was a school that did end up getting money from it, a substantial amount of money. But that program has been paused. That was brought up at this meeting, so I just wanted to make note of that maybe it's a good thing we did go down that direction, because it's gonna cost us about $20,000 to just do the process to get started, and so that has been paused. They talked about the North Iowa Soil Event and also a wetland field day. A wetland field day. Both of those were attended real well by the public. They talked about their billboard that they're gonna put up, in order to kind of advertise their district. That's moving forward. And start the water sampling and testing on, April 21st, which was yesterday. Army Corps has made some changes to wetlands in regards to, some people were doing wetlands and they were doing them right directly through a waterway or directly through a stream. And the Army Corps said that there's nothing wrong with doing it on the banks, but they have a problem if you're going to start restricting the flow of the water through the stream or the creek. So those areas are pretty much off limits. And then they talked about bioreactors. This was just kind of an off-topic thing, but there's some thoughts in regards to using a ram or a solar pump in order to, when the streams are down, to actually start pumping the water from the stream through the bioreactor and then back into the stream in order to remove nitrates when there's a lot of water flow going on. So that's pretty much that for that one. I had a city council meeting last night. Talked about Quick Star. That's going to be starting completion here pretty quick, and they proposed to have the building completed in October. There will be a new store built on the big rock area that we see now. That's where the store will be built. They'll put up the whole new store before they tear the old one down. There might be a lull in regards to gasoline for just a little bit, and then that'll all be concrete. They're gonna Quick Star, which their actual name is ZRH. It's ZRH. That's their actual name. But they're Quick Star and they're Quick Trip in Wisconsin and Minnesota. So their actual name is ZRH. So,
Interesting.
yeah, interesting. I saw that and I'm like, who is that? But anyway, so big rock area we see now will be all concrete. They're going to pave the alley, the whole alley. The city said, wondered about actually sharing the cost with it because they thought that's what they want to do. And Quick Star said, no, that's fine. We're just going to do the whole thing if you don't mind, pay for the whole thing. So he said, yeah, that's a good deal. And then the old parking lot that was behind the church, that will also be paved. And that's going to be kind of overflow parking back in that area. They have to do some stormwater improvements. So there'll be some things being done to this city street in order for reinforced concrete pipe in order to do that. So that's part of that project. Then they set a date for their urban renewal plan amendment that has to do with that consultation that I handed out to you. They're gonna add a parcel for the elevator for the green bins and put that in the urban renewal area. Then they're talking with bond council in order to get together an engagement agreement. It has to do with their city street projects. They're gonna put a not to exceed amount of $2.6 million into that agreement. That's what bond council does, is develop those and put that in. It's a not to exceed amount. They don't figure on going over that, but it doesn't mean you have to spend $2.6 million. It just means that you covered up to that amount. So they're working on that. That's good for that. That's all I have.
So, Pam and I are both on this, the new Mitchell County Emergency Preparedness Coalition, Rachel. I don't know if we should put this on. I think it's gonna continue.
Mitchell County Preparedness.
Emergency Preparedness Coalition.
Okay.
As of right now, we're going to start meeting monthly until we get kind of up to date with all the information. Our goals are to do more tabletop exercises with sheriff, police department, nursing homes, schools, figure out what our needs are, what our resources are in case of different emergencies, what kind of equipment everyone has. Been very informational. We're gonna start working on getting each one of those cards. You'll have your name, your status, and then a picture of yourself. So if there was a drastic emergency in the county and you were outside the county, you would have to have that card to get into the county. And that was the Salamander grant that Home Health, Public Health got a grant for, and they're able to print all the cards. So I believe we'll have to, she's going to send an email to either Pam or I at the time when she's ready for the courthouse. So it will be elected officials only. And then when she has that email sent to us, then we'll go around and get all of your guys' information and pictures, and we'll submit that so they can print the cards and then give it to you. Say my term is up next fall, and if I don't get reelected, I still have that card. They can just hit a button and it will deactivate that card, so it will no longer be activated because there's a QR code on it, and whoever is in charge will have to scan it to make sure it's live. So we're still having talks, figuring out what kind of tabletop exercises we want to do, how many we would like to do, different types of scenarios, like the school did that one, St. Ansgar did one. So yeah, there's a lot of that information that we're still learning, and we will be meeting next month again. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, so Sydney covered the emergency preparedness meeting. I spent last Wednesday and Thursday in a class put on by DMAC, which was the Basics 101 of wastewater sewage systems. Learned a great deal, and it is much more intense and involved. And so I did pass the class, and so that was a good thing, and learned a great deal about that process for residential homes, as far as that's concerned. And then I also met with both Megan and Ashley and gave them my insights last Friday.
County Social Service HR meeting. We still have the 20 people, nobody has left yet, which is pretty amazing. Since July or June 30th, it's coming pretty quick. They're talking about keeping 5 people online until they phase everybody out, pay bills, and sunset the process. And then we have a meeting tomorrow on County Social Service, and they're gonna possibly vote to, if we can keep some records as the phase out process continues in the courthouse here, since Megan lives in Mitchell County. That's it.
I had a FMC early childhood. Went over the financials, which was a very important this time of year for us. School will be coming to an end, and with the unknown, we obviously think that there's going to be less money in the years to come because there's going to be more counties involved, and you're going to have rural versus urban. And I have a good idea where a lot of that money will be going. But they also gave us, so some of the money, it has to be spent up by the end of the year. Some you can carry over. Well, Shauna got an email, I guess, that all entities the money will be able to be carried over. So they're not making us spend down, which is, we think it could be quite a gray area because you're not getting any more, so don't spend it all. We had all preschoolers, presentations, all of them receive or can apply for scholarships for these 3 and 4-year-olds. And no doubt everyone has a scholarship or two that families that they receive that families would not be able to send their child. Well, the way it looks, they're gonna discontinue that money. So they're all the teachers are afraid that there's gonna be kids left out because of no scholarships. So we're gonna be in the process of trying to figure out with the money that we have left over in different areas to see if we can support scholarships for another year. And then the preschoolers, teachers all have to have their claims and everything in by May 1st. And then they'll all be paid out no later than May 31st, because school will be over with. And we have an annual coordinator, administration assistant coordinator evaluations coming up probably in June. So that's about the extent of it.
Thank you. Manure management?
PL Farms LLC, 2942 State Line Street, McIntyre. Alderson Finisher, 4830 Epic Avenue, Sagansker. Sunner, 3107 460th Street, McIntyre. And Iowa Egg Company, 3407 Kirkwood Avenue, Osage.
Thank you. Public comments.
I would like to speak.
Please state your name.
Yep, this is Sherry Penny. Thank you for allowing public comment today. I really appreciate it. I just want to say, as a citizen and former colleague, I would like to express my disappointment that Amanda was not granted the raise that she deserves. It's very clear that she is an extremely dedicated and qualified county employee. I feel like this is just another instance where the auditor's department is targeting an employee, and I fear we will yet again lose a quality county employee based on rumors and opinion versus facts. I unfortunately know this firsthand. It's time that we support our county staff against a single department. I really appreciate this board and your knowledge and willingness to serve. I encourage you all to continue to make informed decisions based on facts as you have done so well in the past. I'm happy to have a conversation offline with any of you who would like clarification on any of my comments. And again, just thank you for serving Mitchell County. I know this is not an easy role, and I appreciate all the work that you all do.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 10:29.